What's up, Audiophiles? I'm back here with Alberto Guerra of AGD Designs. I'm going to talk a little bit about more about his beautiful line of amplifiers. What's up, Alberto?
Hey Gary, how you doing?
All right, so we talked a little bit about the line last time, but we're going to talk about one particular thing I keep coming across. Now, how long have you been doing shows?
Well, I think that the first of time that we had AGD attending as a individual company was either in late 2018 or early 2019. Yes, that
Right,
was
so
the
right,
pre-COVID. That was the pre-COVID time. Yeah,
right. So it was right before the pandemic.
yeah. It was, now everything is divided in before pandemic and after the pandemic. Yeah, it was a different time.
Right. So when I was at the recent Expo with you this year,
Yeah.
yet and still, we still get people coming in the rooms and even reviewers saying, "What? Well, I love tubes. It's great. Tubes are great," and they don't understand it's not a vacuum tube after all these years.
Yeah,
So
actually, it's true. Still today, a little bit of a trick, as somebody says.
yeah, it's a great compliment that they think it's a tube because of the beautiful smooth sound, and obviously, no one tube is going to give out that kind of power.
No.
So let's talk a little bit more about the device itself.
Yes. Okay. So what you see in this picture is, yeah, it's actually the two GaN tube that we have released the production. One is the tube of the Audion and the Vivace. The other one is the tube that we have for the Grand Vivace. And I keep calling them tubes because, in fact, they have 100% the shape, form factor, the same octal of a regular vacuum tube, so a thermoionic tube. But of course, these are not thermoionic devices. It's actually the complete power stage of the amplifier is integrated inside that tube, which is actually then sealed in glass in order to prevent, of course, to isolate it and to protect. But of course, because it's not doesn't need to have any thermoionic effect, any filaments, if you wish, there is no need, as in a old lamps, to have air extracted and so to be basically in a vacuum. So there is no need for that. But from whatever it is, the size, shape, they are exactly the same dimension of a KT88 and a KT120.
So talk a little about the advantages of the design.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, fundamentally, the reason why, and actually, here we have the example in a sealed, complete form. So the KT120 here and the KT188 in this one. So the fundamental reason that this design actually enables is the easy of upgradability. So all the elements of the amplifier are contained specifically for the output stage inside the tube. In this specific case, we have a 400 watt class D gallium nitride running at 800 kilohertz and all sealed into this glass tube, same identical sockets of an octal, of course, um, fully isolated. And with that type of design, I can easily upgrade the existing platform, either as Audion, which we already have a second generation of tubes, and the Gran Vivace. So something that anybody can do without any use of tools, screwdriver, or any sort of things to open the amplifier. Just simply swap the new tube in, and then you have a brand new amplifier with the most advanced characteristic of the most advanced semiconductor available today in the market.
And I wanted to mention that you do offer an upgrade path in case there are some improvements to the
Yes,
unit that
yeah,
it
and
could be.
actually we did already. The Audion, the first generation came out, as I said, around end of 2018, early 2019. And in 2021, we released the Generation 2, which substantially upgraded the quality of the sound, even though at the time most of the customer and reviewer were already really surprised by the incredible, uh, you know, three-dimensional holographic effect and things that was actually um, happening to the listening experience of the gun tube.
Yeah, well, I will mention that if you've heard Class D before, this is a completely different animal. The sound is actually, you could fool yourself and say it's a tube with a vacuum tube with the kind of sound you get out of it.
Well, again, so our intention was not necessarily to duplicate or mimic any specific sound. I truly believe that an amplifier should be, by definition, a wire with a gain, so it shouldn't add or subtract any signal, any information of the original signal that is fed with. So we were not trying absolutely to mimic anything or modify the sound to be similar to something, simply to really be absolutely as accurate as possible in the sonically speaking, in the amplification of the input signal. So that's what was our goal, and we knew that by using a specific, the most advanced semiconductor available, and would have solved so many issues, historically present in Class D design, then we would have achieved basically our goal.
Okay, let's talk about the first model you created.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the Vivace, yeah, and the Audion, yeah, they all use the same tube, which is this one, the KT88 equivalent. It's called, in fact, again, tube 88KT. And in this design, we have used a very advanced chip that can enable the amplifier here to reach about 250 watts. That's the limit of this design. And with that, in fact, we get 250 watt on the Vivace and 200 watt on the Audion. The difference in power is fundamentally related only to the different size of the power supply that we encase in a larger cabinet, in the case of Vivace, or a smaller cabinet that is the Audion. Of course, the Audion has been designed as more minimalistic amplifier. The Vivace was designed with the concept of a platform, so expandable in power, which is actually what we did when we introduced the Gran Vivace, which had a larger power supply and a bigger tube.
Right, and I wanted to mention that you cannot put a tube into these units.
Oh, well, yeah, well, again, so that's an important clarification. This was not intended to be a vacuum tube replacement, because, again, fundamentally, what is physical in this device is a complete power stage. It's not a single triode, for example. So it's not a single device. A vacuum tube basically has one single device, which is the triode. In this case, we have, technically hundreds of components, and of course, inside the GaN MOSFET, in reality, they are equivalent of thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cells of MOSFET in parallel. So again, no, of course, it's not a pin-to-pin compatible device. You cannot plug this into a vacuum tube amplifier, because just the voltage applying a vacuum tube we are talking about close to 500, 600, even higher volt, which is, of course, something lethal in case that happens. Besides this, of course, will explode. So don't do it.
Plus, do not put a vacuum tube into this unit either.
No, well, if you put
do not do that.
If you do the other way around, actually, it's not a problem. It will not do anything, most likely. But again, it will not be an amplifier. It will be just a waste.
Right. We don't recommend it. Let's put it that way.
No, let's put it that way. We strongly recommend not to do it.
Right. Now here is the second unit you device, which is a smaller form factor.
Yes.
Uses the same GaN tube 88KT.
Yes, it is. It's the Audion, and again, as I said, is MK2. With this one, with the MK2 release, we have upgraded the switching frequency of the power stage to 800 kilohertz. We are at the highest possible switching frequency today achievable with this type of component. And honestly, the limitation is not necessarily into the power MOSFET, the GaN, but it's actually into the control electronics of the IC that actually control the PWM frequency. that are the limitation of the switching. If we had a much more advanced, which is not available in any from any supplier controller, then we could actually increase the switching frequency even higher.
Right, so it's got a slightly smaller power supply and a
Yes.
much smaller case also.
Yeah, the intention of this design in terms of objective of the overall value proposition for this product was a very minimalistic design, and actually with a complete different approach from the look point of view. The Vivace and Gran Vivace were more into the sort of let's say avant-garde type of design in terms of industrial design, if you wish, from the point of view of the cabinet design. This one was more into Art Deco concept, so try to have more smoother curves, rounded design, and again with this kind of idea of Deco, how the future was seen in the 1930, 1920, 1930, during the time of that trend in the architectural design. So
Yeah, it's great
it's
looking.
smaller because the power supply, of course, I mean, it's limited in power because the size of the unit is extremely compact, and so we are, in fact, forced to put the bulk capacitor in visible as additional cases on top of the cabinet. Otherwise, they will not have enough space inside to house everything.
Right, it's a great looking unit.
Yes, it is. It's a little baby, but it pushes 200 watt and 30 amp of peak current, which means that it can drive any sort of speakers. Of course, if you try to use a 200 watt in a stadium, will not be enough. But in regular size room and with speakers that are not necessarily too deaf in terms of efficiency, this is a fantastic amplifier. A lot of customers actually have replaced their ACT, the single-ended triode design. So people that typically run speakers at high efficiency with very anemic power amplifier in the 5 to 7 watt or maybe even less, with the audio and with full satisfaction. We even have customers that are using the audio as a headphone speakers, headphone amplifier, because it is absolutely silent, incredibly silent, and the dynamic and the capability of driving even high impedance load is really remarkable. And so they are actually using the audio when they are not using with speakers with their headphones.
Yeah, I want to amplify on that a little bit. No pun intended. But the problem with tube amplifiers and high sensitivity speakers is the tube has a certain amount of inherent noise.
Yes.
There's always going to be thermal noise and whatnot like that, and that's can be irritating on a high efficiency speaker. But with the Audion, you're getting
Zero.
the power and you're getting the absolute silence, which is
No
great.
noise. No noise. We have customers that are using our Audion or Vivace or Gran Vivace, actually mostly Audion, with the avant-garde speakers and also the acapella, so something that is in the range of 104, 107.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, efficient, and they are so happy because they finally have an amplifier that has eliminated completely. It made that the speaker completely silent when there is no signal. Something that was really a problem with any other amplifier.
Absolutely.
Not only tube, of course, also solid state, because the background noise, the thermal noise, and so forth. This one is dead silent. It's completely dark.
Okay, let's go on to the big boy here.
Yeah.
The Gran Vivace. Now, what things does makes this the top of the line model?
Yes. So again, the Gran Vivace, of course, by the name is quite obvious that is the evolution of the Vivace. Was intended to address the demand from customers that have larger speakers, a larger room where they require more power, more peak current. And so we have leveraged these fundamental characteristics of upgradability and platform design that we choose with the Vivace to house inside the same cabinet a wider and larger power supply. We have improved also the stage, the buffer stage, so the analog portion a little bit incrementally improved. But fundamentally, we have redesigned the output stage that we became from a small, let's say, relatively contained KT88 into a larger KT120 size. So you can see how bigger it is. That was required in order to utilize a bigger inductor, larger GaN, because in this case, to get to 400 watt, we needed to improve the current capability and the voltage capability of the output MOSFETs, the gallium nitride power MOSFET. And of course, we had to increase also the size of in this tube, we also have all the linear power supply, the LDOs, necessary to power up the power stage and the control and the operation on all the op amps are included in the design. So everything had to be upgraded and improved in size and power to achieve the 400 watt target spec. So we made it really a full redesign of the same concept, same identical fundamental design, but more powerful. And again, here the only heat sink that is needed is that little tiny, I don't know if it's visible, but a little tiny heat sink inside the glass. And we did it. We delivered 400 watt, and in this case, 50 amp of maximum power, peak power.
Okay, one thing I wanted to clarify, there's two models of the GaN tube, the 88 KT and the 120 KT. Now, talk a little bit about what you mentioned that some of the other models can take the, obviously the
Yes.
Granhi.
Yeah. So all these tubes are downward compatible, meaning you can put the 400 watt into the audio. You cannot do the other way around. So if you put the smaller tube into the bigger amplifier, that will not be very smart. It will not work, and may create some issue. But they're all downward compatible, meaning the socket is identical, the pin out is identical, so you can actually try. And we have several customers that wanted to try how did the larger tube sound in a smaller amplifier, so with a smaller different power supply.
Right. I wanted to emphasize that point, that you can take the 120 KT and put it into the Audion or the smaller Vivace, but you will not get the same power.
No, because the power is defined by the power supply in reality.
Right.
I mean, people sometimes get confused and have a very foggy idea about what defines the power in a power amplifier. The fundamental key element is the power supply. The power supply is the part of the circuitry that enable the output stage of the amplifier to deliver the power that is specified with. Without the power supply, you cannot do the other way.
There's a lot of confusion on that, so I wanted to make sure that's clear. Okay, let's go to the one that I've been asking you for forever. The Tempo,
yes,
which is this is the one I've been asking you for, is a stereo amp that has everything inside of it and has the circuitry. So talk a little bit about this one.
Yes, Gary. I remember very, very well that you've been insisting a lot to get something that have with lesser fancy, so to speak, characteristics in terms of look, and cheaper, of course, in order to address a wider, customer base. That one, they may not be compatible with, or happy about the pricer product like the Audion or Vivace, Grand Vivace, and at the same time they would have prefer a even more compact size-wise amplifier. So that of course helps to reduce the cost because the cabinet is smaller. The complexity of encasing the power stage into a glass tube is removed, and so we designed the Tempo with that objective. And fundamentally, the Tempo has exactly the same circuitry and actually exactly the same components of the audio, but aligned and reformatted into a single board for the power supply point of view, and that contains actually both channels, so the left and the right channel. And for doing that, we had to basically take the current design of the output stage, and that is in the tube, and put it into a simpler board. Again, also this one has the possibility to be plugged in and plugged out, so to be upgraded the same identical way as the tube,
Yeah,
except
let me move to the next
yeah,
slide so
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
see a little bit better.
So that's it. That's the little GAN module, which is this one. And again, the fundamental reason why I did that is to protect the investment of the customer, that will retain the value of the amplifier in time, because when I will have a more advanced GAN or a more advanced design that could deliver in incremental quality in audio, in the audio performance, I will distribute this new device, new module, and so every customer would be able to plug and unplug this. Eventually, of course, for the tempo, because it's inside, may be required that we get the part here to do that operation. But at the same time, everything will stay the same. The power supply, the cabinet, the analog stage, everything will remain the same. Only the key part, that is this module, can be simply swapped in and deliver an improved sound.
Yeah,
So
that's a fantastic feature, a very, very customer-friendly feature to make sure
yes,
your
it is.
product doesn't go obsolete.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, in this world, the technology changes quite rapidly. Just imagine how the silicon-based device have evolved in the past, let's say, 70 years, from the time that silicon was started to be used for electronics, and today. So the gallium nitride, as a single, let's say, device, has been in the market, now less than really about 10 years. And so we have a possibility of evolution and improvement that is really, really big ahead of us. And so that's why I thought that ultimately an amplifier remains fundamentally defined by power supply and the output stage. And so there is a limited incremental improvement that can be done on the power supply per se, but a lot in the audio section, if you wish, the part that actually deliver the sound, which is the output stage of the amplifier. And in this case, this little teeny tiny board that has both channels built in.
Right. So, of course, the ultimate test on the amplifiers is the sound. And I wanted to mention we will be at the show, which is in Costa Mesa, coming up June 9th and 11th. I think every model is going to be on display,
Yes,
and at least three are going to be live, right?
yes. And then we will have a little surprise that, of course, we cannot share now, for some specific news that we will present at the show. So, but I want to keep
Okay, so if you want to find out, you got to go.
absolutely.
So get your tickets now. And Alberto, thanks again, and
Thank
we
you,
will see
Gary.
you soon.
Thank you very much. See you at the show. Thank you.
Okay, see you later.